live before I go and actually talk about this. Oh. Also, before you ask, yes, I know it's been a while since I have streamed anything. There we go. Awesome. That's because I've been busy with work and I moved to a new place, etc., etc. I kind of want to get into this first about why I'm not going to be streaming The Last of Us Part 2. As some of you guys may know, if you follow me on the PlayStation Network, I have completed the game in its entirety. That's also why the unloading screen here is a bit different. I completed it last night, and I will cry, because I have a lot of feelings. Now, before I say anything, for people who are threatening Laura Bailey, fuck off, kindly. Kindly go fuck yourself. You should never go... You should never threaten anyone, especially an actor, because they play a certain character. Characters and actors are not the same people. I think that's something that shouldn't need to be said, but apparently has to be. I will also say I am not dissing anyone who worked on this game, whether that be actors, game developers, graphic designers, no one. I am going to be critical. There will be some spoilers, so if you haven't played the game, haven't read anything about the game, this video may not be for you. I will probably be talking about some spoilers here. I'll try not to, but I probably will. And I think a lot of people at Naughty Dog, especially Neil Druckmann, and I know even Troy Baker, have come and came forward about people who are critiquing the game and saying it's not a good game, and saying your opinions don't matter, or they're only boosting the best of the best people, or the worst of the worst, you know. I don't think that's right. I think everyone is entitled to their own opinion, especially about games. So I don't think that's right. I'm going to speak my opinion about it. Feel free to agree or disagree with me. I don't really care. This game is sad, obviously. It turns on its head, obviously. What I don't think is right is a game studio in trailers straight up lying to their audience. Spoiler alert, major spoiler here. That isn't really a spoiler because everyone's talked about it. Joel, of course, dies. And the trailers lead you to believe that Joel is a big part of the game. And that it's Dina who dies, which of course goes into the bury your gaze trope. We're going to touch on that later. But I don't have a problem with Joel dying. I know my brother and we've discussed that if they ever made a sequel, Joel had to go. What I don't appreciate is game companies lying, especially in their advertising. It's okay to mislead. It's not okay to lie. In like the final trailer, Ellie is in Seattle, hand goes over her mouth, and she said, "So what are you doing here?" And it's Joel who says, "You think I'd let you do this on your own?" In the game, it's Jesse. I think this game really was made for shock value and not for the story. I don't think this game did the characters justice. At the very end of the game, of course, this is spoiler territory. It flashes forward to about a year. Ellie has a family. She has Dina and Dina's kid, JJ. And Tommy comes and says, I know where Abby is. And Ellie says, I'm sorry, I can't. Which is in line with Ellie's character. What isn't in line with Ellie's character is her upping and leaving her family. I'm very irked by that. I'm very annoyed by that. It's kind of like, imagine if Harry Potter just like halfway decided to drop out of Hogwarts and say fuck you and go do something else, you know? Or Nathan Drake just like halfway through the game being like, nah, I'm done looking for this treasure. See you later. I'm gonna go do something else. It very much gives off that feel. I also find you can't, if this was a standalone game, it wouldn't have received as harsh criticism from fans, but because of the first game, obviously you have to compare this game from a UI AI standpoint is brilliant. The graphics are amazing. Storyline, this game is weak. This game is very weak. I'm also going to talk about PTSD. So if that is a trigger for you, there you go. Ellie shows symptoms of PTSD, which also annoys me at the ending. Because, of course, Ellie goes to find Abby, because Tommy knows, of course, where she is. That is not how PTSD works. As someone who has an anxiety disorder and who knows therapists quite well, or a therapist quite well, I've talked with my therapist about this, and this is not how PTSD patients work. That's why PTSD is one of the hardest anxiety disorders to deal with and to cope with. Ellie physically, mentally, she could not go to Santa Barbara. She couldn't. That's how PTSD works. I'm sorry. That is how it works. That is how that works. She couldn't physically do it. You don't, if a soldier has PTSD, they don't go and re-enlist into the military. They don't. They don't. And it's like, for as much care as the writer, the main writer, Neil Druckmann, put into this game, you couldn't do 5 fucking seconds of research? Also, let me circle back to the bury your gays trope. Obviously, I don't think it needs to be a staple in media that every single LGBTQIA plus character has to have a happy ending. But it's hard when you show that happy ending and then you take it away. Because it puts forward, again, the stereotype of we don't get happy endings. We don't get to be happy. And, you know, like, the studio, of course, from people who are homophobic, transphobic, biphobic, are mad already about the inclusion of lesbian, bisexual, and trans characters in the game. I don't know, it's just like, it's a slap in the face, honestly, to show that happy ending and to ignore it. And also the end was just such a disappointment. And there's a difference between having an ending you don't necessarily like, but still makes sense for the story. I'm going to compare this game to Transistor, which is like an 8-hour game you can play by Supergiant Games. The ending of that game, which I'm not going to spoil here, it's not a happy ending either. But when you replay the game, it makes sense for the main character, what she does. this game doesn't. It doesn't. There's so many ways this game could have improved. I think what would have been a cool mechanic is if you have Ghost Joel following you, or the memory of Joel. That would tie in well to the PTSD. And you still have the same line from the trailer. You think you're going to do this on your own. It cuts to Ellie. She looks scared. It cuts back. It's actually Jesse and not Joel. I think you could have had the choice when you're in the theater and it's Abby versus Ellie. One of the characters dies. Let's say if Abby dies, Ellie has to have the choice if she is going to kill Lev or let him free. And then you get the ending with the farm scene where it's her, JJ, and Dina. Or Abby kills Ellie. They leave. Dina goes and finds all of the carnage. And then to tie back to that theme of the circle of violence that Naughty Dog wanted to tell, Dina then makes the choice if she wants to go after Abby. There are so many things in this game that could have been better and could have been greater. But it wasn't. It wasn't. And I know just how well this game did in sales. It's going to do... They're going to make a third one. I'm not buying it. I'm leaving this world alone. I need time to separate the first game with the second game. And of course, with the first game, they should have... I think a lot of people agree they should have just left it alone. Once you have a game like the first one, which is a masterpiece and was revolutionary, especially for the time, and focused so much on storytelling, it's hard when you have a second game, a sequel, follow-up that doesn't. Of course, this isn't a traditional sequel as well. This is a sequel that's meant to be played right after the first one and is supposed to continue the story. You can tell... I'm just going to say like a basic game design is you can have the best UI, the best AI, the best graphics, whatever, but that can't carry a game. The only thing that can carry the game is the story. Like, the AI is not great in the first game, but yet it's not that. It's not the game mechanics. It's the story that really made the first game. And broke this one. It broke it. I was never fully invested in what was happening. Especially the endings. The ending felt like when you take a nap and it accidentally turns into a 5-hour nap and you have your assignment due in like 30 minutes and you gotta slap some shit together. Now, does this mean that I will never stream The Last of Us Part 2? No, I probably will at some point. But not now. I can't now. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I just can't. This is a game that is divisive. Not for the reasons I think... You know, I'm not upset with the game that, it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. But the actions Ellie as a character took doesn't make sense for her character. It would kind of be like if in the first game, Joel, at the end of the game, just left Ellie at the hospital. It would go completely against the character and how he was set up in the first game. And you can feel free to chime up in the comments what you thought of the game. I am happy to read what you think. Again, this is my personal review. Like, out of 10, I'd give this game like a 6.5 or a 7. 'Cause it is... Like, the first half is pretty good. Like, yeah, story-wise, some of the things doesn't make sense. But I would call this game shock value of the game. Because, of course, they killed Joel in the first 2 hours for shock value. Dina's pregnant for shock value. Kill Jesse for shock value. Kill Mel an Owen for shock value. Yara found her death fine because it had an actual purpose in the story. So many things, you know. I know a lot of people are upset. And I think any criticism, either good or bad criticism, is valid. I find any good review is valid for this game. Any bad review is valid. Because this is a person's personal experience, and I think it is very, very wrong for creators of the game to say, fuck your opinion. This is a good game because we say so. I think that is wrong and despicable because it is a piece of art and it is objective. Although, again, I will reiterate, don't send hate to these people. Don't send death threats. I know Laura Bailey, who plays Abby, is receiving a load of death threats right now. That is not okay. It has never been okay. Stop pulling that shit. Hopefully I'll have a better video for you guys. I don't know. I'll try to stream more. But honestly, if I'm not in the mood to stream, I'm not going to subject you to watch me stream something I don't really want to stream. And my life's been kind of hectic recently. But I felt like I had to make this. I had to just get some words out. So thank you. I don't know when I'm going to be back. But I promise I'll be back at some point. I love you all. Thank you for listening. And I would say, don't also just form your opinion based on what I said. Play the game. Borrow a friend's copy or something. Watch people play it. And form your opinion there. Because this is just my opinion. I'm one person. My opinion. Not anyone else's. Anyways, thank you very much for listening. And I'll see you guys at some point, I guess. Bye.